meaningful customers to guys like us.
And Josh and Jason, is this something you guys? I mean, Dead Rising 2 is obviously kind of a hardcore title. I mean, it's kind of an old school regular game. It's a gamer's game, right?
Yes.
Is that something you guys talk about though? Do you talk about how do we find ways to make this appealing to maybe people that wouldn't usually pick up and play a game like this?
Yeah, I mean, it is in the back of our minds, but definitely not at the front. I mean, we want the game to appeal to a core audience and that cult following that love the first one. That's really important to us, but, you know, there's things that we've always tried to keep in mind that, you know, the subject matter is relatively broad, and folks will probably get a kick out of it if they didn't play, you know, like RPGs before. That's kind of what we are. It's just sort of this light RPG with zombies and but no, it's not something we say, you know, we need to figure out how to make this whole thing mass appeal. All we want to do is make sure it's in line with what, you know, Western games would have for controls or, you know, or for communication, understanding what's going on.
Jason?
Yeah, I mean, the mass appeal thing, that's been a holy grail for a long, long time in the industry. And I remember when I was back at EA, we would sell 1 million baseball games a year, 1.5 million or whatever it was, and the executives would always say, you know, if you made the game easier, if you had like a one-button mode or something, you'd sell 5 million. There's, you know, it's the national pastime of the States. We've got to do better than 1 million copies. But I don't ever see that really happening. I don't think it's about dumbing the games down. And with Dead Rising, the last thing that we wanted to do is try and do a one-button mode Dead Rising, right? It's got a hardcore audience. We wanted to appeal to the hardcore. And if more people can kind of jump on board and enjoy the wackiness of the world and the character and the violence and all that stuff, then awesome. But at the end of the day, with our game, certainly, I think we built it for the core audience.
Jay, Dead Rising 2 is not going to be for your wife. Just that's not going to be the moment.
No, even just the word zombies is not appropriate.
I don't want to get into your marital issues.
Hi there. You talked a lot about the future of gaming in terms of where games are going, but I would like to know what your opinion of the future of gaming as far as gaming culture and the market for gaming. So, for example, it seems that right now there's this great interest in drawing a line in the sand between casual gamers and hardcore gamers. You know, you have hardcore gamers saying, oh, Farmville, and like those people aren't gamers. They're not one of us. And you have casual gamers saying, no, I don't play games. I just play Farmville. This Mass Effect 2 stuff is just, you know, that you guys are just boys with toys or girls with toys or whatever. Do you see that changing? Do you see there being, like, you know, the two sides coming together at all, and that maybe, you know, gaming is going to become more mainstream, less mainstream? So
can you play Dead Rising 2 and Peggle? Can you have those two games in your collection?
There's this big game out there, World of Warcraft. It's incredibly social, and it's not common, it's not Scrabble, it's not something that's sort of like a little game. That's just an example of something that's like, it is a big game, and it has a new business model. It has so many things going for it. There'll be successes that just bring those things together. Social gaming is, you know, as things happen, we're going from, hey, we used to buy games and we weren't connected. Then we were connected, then we were online, and now we're always online, and now we're sharing things together. I think we'll all absorb these trends, and there'll be some games that stay in one genre and some that just use them all.
With World of Warcraft, yeah, you have this model where casuals and hardcores are kind of rubbing shoulders, but they're yelling about it constantly. You got hardcore in my casual content, you got casual content in my hardcore. I have to go through a heroic with somebody who did less than 50,000, you know, DPS. And I'm just wondering, do you ever see that antagonism going away?
I don't know. We try and divide people. Beginners, try and match them with other beginners, and try and make the hardcore guys match with other hardcore guys. And that's across every game. It's just more, is there a community that talks a lot about it? But you're always trying to divide people.
Sorry, Jay. It seems like gamers come in all kinds of flavors these days, though. And I know what you're talking about. I feel it too. And it bothers me too sometimes. But it's kind of cool to be a nerd. Like all these guys on this panel today, they're all big nerds. They love games and they love nerd stuff. And this is our time, man. We are nerds and we are here and hear our roar, you know? And nerds are rich now, and nerds are cool, and nerds dress better, and nerds get the girl, and down with the jocks, man. So I don't know. I don't know if it's ever going to go away. I think there's all kinds of different games for all kinds of people, and Warcraft is a good example, though, Jay. You're very smart, and you get the other gift certificate. That was a good question. I don't know if we have time. Are we done? Do we have? We do? Okay. Another question. This guy here with his hand up in the corner. Yeah, the guy with the glasses. Isn't that a fine gentleman?
Well, thank you very much. Just you're talking about the future of gaming, but one thing I've noticed, at least especially in the casual, well, quote unquote casual gaming, or the digital downloading, WiiWare, Live, Arcade, and PSN. You're seeing like Mega Man 9 and 10. Just they've come out. A lot of the older games are coming back as being repackaged or redesigned for a more modern audience. Do you think that's going to be continuing as the people that grew up with games are now making these games and making the games that they grew up with, and then there are also other people who've never played games and are experiencing the original style of games for the first time?
It is kind of weird because I will buy any crap in the virtual console store. Some old game, I bought all the Zeldas. I'll never play them, but I wanted them. Like, it does seem like that's a new trend, though. We're re-releasing old stuff. Jason's got something.
Yeah, no, that's one of the cool things right now is with the digital distribution. The game industry is now mature enough that it's got a history, and there's probably people in the room that don't even know what that history is way back in some of the arcade games, old console games, ColecoVision and Television that we used to play that are largely the reason why we're sitting up here right now. Those kind of formative experiences when we were kids, and to have an immense library of that history, and anybody can just sort of jump onto a service and say, what's this Pac-Man thing? I want to try this out. I've heard of this game before. I think that's super cool. I certainly want to show some of these games to my kids when they're old enough.
I think you got to know. I think you got to know where the industry's been to know where it's going. And I think that if you are really super young, you should go back and take a look at these games. There's some good ones back there.
I'm actually really interested in the future of what you guys think of portable games, because right now the iPhone is really good because it's very accessible. But I'm wondering if you want to drive more of the hardcore gamers to be portable. So if maybe the future consoles are something you can pick up and carry with you. Oh, I see Dave. So
one of the things that we talked about earlier, we kind of alluded to, were this kind of cloud computing or like services like OnLive. And if you've ever seen the demo for it, you should look it up. If you haven't seen it, that is, because it's going to bring accessibility to of these hardcore games, these like super high-end console experience or PC experiences, to a mass market. The barrier to entry is lowered immensely. Not that the iPad is a super cheap device, but anything with a web browser capability, you'll be able to play a hardcore game on.
You mean streaming it, right? Streaming it.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, I'm not saying that the latency. I'm still skeptical, but from all of the demos I've seen, it's very impressive. So, for me, not only the smaller games, but everybody's going to get a bigger market just from this type of technology.
Any other further comments on the subject? It's a good question, by the way. You guys are good.
I'll throw one thing in there,
ahead,
which
Trent.
is that, I mean, yes, we've already seen huge advances in the cloud platforms. We use Amazon a lot, which really lets us run our own Linux instance in the cloud. So we're already looking at offloading game engine features to the cloud and having some of our mobile stuff leverage the power of that.
Nice. Thank you.
We are all out of time. I just would like to take a moment and thank Jason Leigh from Blue Castle Games on the end. Jason. Jay Balmer, BigPark. Trent Shumay from Finger Food. The illustrious Ted Nugent from Genius Factor. We also have Josh Bridge from Blue Castle. And to my left, Dave Bowring from Volition. You guys were awesome, and I just want to say you guys were awesome. You know, it's nice out. We don't get a lot of nice days here in Vancouver. It's sunny out. You guys are hardcore. You're inside. You're you're talking about games. You're listening to these guys. We're all inside. We're all inside together. I love gamers. I love you guys. Thanks for sitting through this.
And a special thank to Scott Jones for moderating this whole thing.
Okay, thanks.